Enron Online will change the markets for many, many commodities. It is creating an open, transparent marketplace that replaces the dark, blind system that existed. It is real simple. You turn on your computer, and it's right there. That's our vision. We're trying to change the world.
On this date at 2:23 a.m., Sugar Land Police discovered John C. Baxter located inside his vehicle with an apparent gunshot wound to the head. At this time, it has been a suicide note located.
Sort of, can you give us any indication whether this was related to Enron's bankruptcy?
We do know that he was an Enron employee, but as far as any other indications of why he committed suicide, no, we do not.
Let me touch on something that's sort of sad, and that's, of course, the suicide of Cliff Baxter. And you mentioned he was your best friend in your opening statement. Before he died, did you have many conversations with him?
Yes.
And were any of them relative to Enron?
Yes.
At first glance, the motives behind the choices that led to Enron's inevitable ruin seem deceptively simple. Individual and collective greed conceived in a climate of market euphoria and corporate arrogance. The fact of the matter is that nobody, either the organization, its representatives, experts, or individual financial specialists, understood Enron's complicated business model. Despite that fact, Enron reported record profits year after year, encouraging thousands of people to purchase their stock, to buy into their corporate mantra and fantasy.
Should we invest all of our 401k in Enron stock? Absolutely. Don't you guys agree?
But the problem still remained. No one knew how Enron actually made money. The story of Enron begins with the merger of Houston Natural Gas and Internorth in 1985, taking the name Enron in 1986. At the time, both companies specialized in natural gas, oil, and petroleum industries, all of which entered a decline in the 1980s. The newly formed company attained a 37,000-mile pipeline framework extending nationwide over North America, along with outstanding debt. And because of deregulation, Enron no longer had exclusive access to its pipelines.
Government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
Enron's rapid growth during the 1990s owes thanks to one unlikely source: Washington.
This is not a political issue. It is a business issue. You know, Enron had made contributions to a lot of people around Washington, D.C. And if they came to this administration looking for help, they didn't find any.
According to published reports, your husband earned about $300 million in compensation and stocks from Enron over the last 4 years. What happened to all that money?
It's gone. It's gone. There's nothing left.
Enron successfully lobbied for a multitude of changes, including, in April 1992, FERC restructured interstate pipeline operations. The move, which deregulated much of the industry, allowed companies like Enron the right to buy, sell, or trade and transport gas. We don't exactly know when Enron descended entirely into an environment of fraud, but we can trace its steps throughout the 1990s, and it begins with the arrival of Jeffrey Skilling. Skilling's vision was to exchange commodities like weather, plastics, or metals, the way Wall Street exchanges stocks or shares. Jeff Skilling was seen as cutthroat. Employees called him Darth Vader in secret. During his admissions interview for Harvard Business School, he was asked if he was smart, to which he replied, "I'm smart." After earning his Harvard MBA in 1979 and turned into an advisor for McKinsey, he advised Kenneth Lay on the way to achieve his goal for Enron. Skilling's idea was to create a gas bank in which Enron would buy gas from a network of suppliers and sell to a network of consumers, contractually guaranteeing both the supply and the price, charging fees for the transactions and assuming the associated risks.
So that was the one good idea. In 1992, using that good idea, we became the largest buyer and seller of natural gas in North America.
On the heels of his success with the gas bank, he launched ECT into natural gas trading, creating an active market where none had existed. By the mid-1990s, it had 200 power marketers working out of 2 exchanging floors in Houston. The deregulation Enron lobbied for in the 1990s gave Enron numerous trade opportunities. In 1991, he persuaded Enron's audit committee to enable him to apply mark-to-market accounting to Enron's exchanging books.
Hey, Rich, how are you?
Finally,
Good
great,
seeing you.
Jeff.
Yeah.
Good to see. Todd, sit down.
We've been working hard on this, and we've really pulled out all the stops. Look what we got. Origination. We did $20 million last year. We think we can do $120 million this year. Trading. We did $10 million last year. We think we can do 64 this year. This is the key. We're going to move from mark-to-market accounting to something I call HFV, hypothetical future value accounting.
Whoa!
If we do that, we can add a gazillion dollars to the bottom line.
Whoa, Jeff! All right, that sounds fantastic. Oh, Jeff, thank you. That's just superb performance. And you're going to go far, my boy. Probably president of the company one day.
You think so?
A significant number of the business sectors Enron was exchanging were not liquid. Enron was propelling those business sectors. In this specific situation, mark-to-market accounting progressed towards becoming mark-to-model accounting. Brokers performing the exchanges had extensive impact in how the arrangements were set apart to display. With their rewards lying on the productivity arrangements, there were unaddressed conflicts of interest.
It's really hard to know when Enron first crossed the line into outright fraud, but there isn't any doubt about who the guy was who led them there. It was a protege of Jeff Skilling's by the name of Andy Fastow.
Andrew Fastow, from his previous work at Continental Illinois, knew about the market and learned how to play it to support Enron. This rapidly drew the consideration of then CEO of Enron Finance Corp., Jeffrey Skilling. Skilling, along with Kenneth Lay, were primarily concerned with the routes in which they could keep the company's stock up, disregarding the genuine money-related state of the organization. Fastow created a complex web of SPEs, special-purpose entities that exclusively worked with Enron, with the motivation of both raising cash for the company and hiding its enormous debts in their quarterly balance sheets. This allowed Enron to present itself as debt-free, while in reality it owed more than $30 billion at its height. Fastow's system of hiding debt was effective to the point that the prior year Enron declared bankruptcy, the Enron stock was at a high of $90 per share.
Andy put me in charge of this asset listing, and there were about a dozen assets that had been hedged with one of Andy's entities, the Raptors. And so I was working with a spreadsheet, and the math just didn't add up. It didn't make sense to me. I mean, accounting doesn't get that creative. I couldn't believe that Arthur Andersen had signed off on it. I couldn't believe that so many people were going along. My first reaction was that I should warn Kinley. The day after Skilling left, I sent this one-page anonymous letter. But within a week, I was meeting with Kinley. I'd identified myself in the hopes of really making my point that Enron needed to address this situation. I mean, companies rarely get away with cooking the books, but when they do survive, it's when they come clean, not when they're exposed from the outside.
Ms. Watkins, I went...
Ms. Watkins did not talk to me, Senator.
Well, Ms. Watkins said Clifford Baxter told her that he met with you repeatedly to express his concern.
Cliff and Andy they didn't like each other. They had a very strained personal relationship, and Cliff's issue had nothing to do with the appropriateness or inappropriateness of the transaction.
I'd mentioned Cliff Baxter in these memos. And I remember I made the comment to him, well, you're one of the good guys. You were one of the people fighting against this, and it'd be all right. And he said, oh, I don't think it's going to be all right for any of us involved in this.
Andy Fastow would not have put his hands in the Enron candy jar without an explicit or implicit approval to do so by Mr. Skilling.
I can't for the life of me see what basis she would have for suggesting that I would know some of that. I mean, how would she know that? And I don't see that it's at all inconsistent that there would be some things I don't know if some people purposely kept me from knowing some things. I left Enron on August 14, 2001 for personal reasons.
Mr. Skilling, a massive earthquake struck Enron right after your departure. And people in far inferior positions to you could see cracks in the walls, feel the tremors, feel the windows rattling. And you want us to believe that you sat there in your office and had no clue that this place was about to collapse.
On the day I left, on August 14th, 2001, I believe the company was in strong financial condition.
Did you convert stock worth $66 million?
I don't know, but I don't
Would that
have
be
the records
surprising
with
to
me.
you to learn that you did that?
No, that would not be surprising.
Would you crack down on Wall Street? Would you have more regulations on these people, more rules they have to follow over there?
I would not do that. You're making it so tough for our companies and our Wall Street people, let's use the word nicely, our Wall Street people to compete with the rest of the world, because you have guys in London, guys in Switzerland, guys in Hong Kong that are giving very, very good deals, and they don't have the kind of regulation that we have here.
So
I'm not a big regulation person.
Okay.